Hello, everybody. Hello to the audience of the Budapest International Documentary Film Festival. My name is Manuel Contreras, and I'm the festival's programmer. And now we're here with Katrine, director of Run Like a Girl. She's in Denmark, and we're going to have this conversation. Since we cannot have this conversation in person, we're going to have this conversation online. Hello, Katrine.
Hello, Manuel.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Katrine, this is the story of Visilin, you know, an athlete from Kenya, and she says in the film, quite quickly in the film, she says that she lives in a society where women are and men are not equal. And that's one of the main premises of your film. So I wanted to start there, this conversation, you know, so you can tell us about how you saw that happening in Kenya, your experience there, and why it became important from the beginning in your film, this difference between men and women.
Yes, well, the film actually, it started that me and the producer of the film wanted to make, we had this idea that we wanted to make a portrait of a strong African female woman, and I wanted to kind of put a spotlight on the inequality in the African society. And I did 2 films previously about adoption, where I traveled a lot in Ethiopia. So I had learned a lot about the East African. I've been a lot in the East African part of the world, and I met all these very, very strong women who were. I just thought they were really. I admired them a lot because they managed to keep up the spirit and create a good life despite that they didn't have the same. They had a completely different starting point that I have, for example, or women have in our part of the world. So I wanted to make like a portrait of an African woman, but without focusing on all the inequality. I wanted to focus on all the equality. I wanted to create a high feeling of identification for women and humans in my part of the world. So I think there is like a tendency when you do portraits of people from different cultures that you tend to focus on all the differences, see how hard their life is, see how, you know, how poor they are, see how it's very, very harmful, the traditional cultures they live under. And I wanted to do the opposite. So I wanted to focus on all the relational parts where I could relate to Viselin as, you know, as another woman, as a co-sister woman kind. So that was kind of the starting point, and and then I started searching for. I wanted to find a young woman who found her way in life despite the cultural difficulties she had to struggle. So that was the starting point for the film.
Mm-hmm. So basically you were, in this case, you also, from your point of view as a director, you were trying to get rid of the idea of this paternalistic, or in this case, maternalistic view with your character. And did you find that bond with her?
Yes, very much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And how was it created? How did you manage to? How did you find it? How did you see it happening?
Yeah, I mean, I by time. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It happened. You know, it took a really long time. Yeah. That's also why the film took so many years to make, because there is a lot of cultural differences. So I mean, she was from the beginning. She was very friendly, but it was hard to get into her inner life, you know, to the emotional part, because the Kenyan people are very, very private. I mean, and they are not. It's not in their culture to talk about their feelings, and also there was a lot. I mean, they also had to get used to me, and they were like, "Yeah, well, you can do a documentary." And then they were like, "Why do you come back? I mean, you were here for several hours. You must have enough materials. Why do you come back?" So it came by time, and it took a long time first to explain to her, and especially I had to have the husband also, because I couldn't do it without his permission. Also, that was. So I had to make him feel safe also, and had to also include him in some way, because otherwise, so he didn't feel that he was kind of left out, and so it was like a long, slow process, and then and actually, it also happened because we ran out of money, so we had to recalculate the budget. So I couldn't. First, I wanted to make a film with a very high visual quality. So I had very, very good cinematographer with me. But then if I had to make the film, I had to film myself. So then I started coming on my own. And that actually helped the film in that way that, I mean, even though the pictures wasn't always as nice as I would have wanted them to be, then it created more intimacy with me, and actually I also began to stay with them when I were there. So I spent many hours on their couch, knitting, just waiting, you know, cooking together with them. So I just spent really a lot of time with the family also to get that intimacy.
Yeah. And so what are these differences between in men and women in practice there in Kenya, and that you saw and were significant for you?
But I mean, that a woman is just not counted. She just doesn't have the same value as a man, and she's completely. I mean, a man has to be the one who takes all the decisions in the home. She's, even though in Viselin's case, she's the breadwinner and she's the one bringing all the money, she's not allowed to make her own decisions on, I think we should spend it on this house, I think we should invest in this. It has to be the husband's choice. And as he also says, he has bought her for, you know, some cows and some stuff. But I also had to evaluate my perception of this, because it's I come with all my cultural education. I think that's really bad, and a woman should, you know, equal right and all this. But I also learned that even though I thought it was really unfair, there was still love between them. I mean, she actually really liked him. It was not like this sad story. So it was also for me like a journey. You know, I can't put my values on. I mean, I can't force my values for them. I mean, but of course she wanted some more equality, but she wasn't like she wanted to break with the husband and divorce if she could and just, you know, flee. She still dreamt of a life with him, but, you know, slowly. And that's also why it's a film where like it's maybe not the groundbreaking revolution, but still she managed to, you know, to turn the balance in her marriage, you know, a little bit, you know, little by little, but she still has to she's still keeping him on board, so he can also, I mean, go down and go out in the streets and meet his fellow friends in that world and that reality that they're living in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to go to Viselin's routine, because as we see in the film, she's running every day 30 kilometers. She wakes up very early, and she's also like doing the working at home. So I wanted to ask you, since you were with her, so what are these other things that maybe we don't see in the film as for her diet, more about her routine, like the things that she's doing every day to be fit, you know, all the things that are required from her to be, in order to be an athlete, a top athlete.
But the thing is, there isn't any more. I mean, because then I would have I wanted to go all the way down in the detail in you know, how she prepares for the race, but there wasn't any details. She ate her ugali, she ran the kilometers she was supposed to, and then she lay on the couch. I mean, that is like, that was it. She didn't have a special diet. She didn't have you know, there was no tactic planning. It was just, you know, very basic. Just run your kilometers, you know, and then rest for the. That was it. I was actually quite surprised that it wasn't more. You know, I thought she ate like, you know, special diet or anything. No, just yeah, very fond of the ugali and which is like a maize porridge, and then she drank a lot of Ribena just before race, because she said that increased the is it the red or the white blood cells? I can't, but yeah, it gave more iron in the body. But that was very low practical stuff, not any fancy stuff. So it is. I mean, it actually is what it is in the film. And also no mental training except from what she did for herself. So yeah, it was really just a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and with the agents and the people who are around her from this agency, is it also the same, like a very simple relationship of she just goes and runs and that's it?
Yeah. It is just like that. For what I for what I saw, and I mean, I was around. It is like the hotspot for the best runners in the world. So I mean, they were all there for the training. Also, the Olympic winners at that time and the world champions, and it was very much the same. I mean, of course. There's been a lot of scandals that some of them has been doping, and but I didn't get to I didn't witness any of that. So yeah, so it was really basic, just running the kilometers. So that was, but it's funny that you ask, because that was also my imagination that I went into and I wanted to really go into the details of all this, you know, to be very nerdy about the running stuff, but there wasn't anything. There wasn't really anything to follow.
Yeah. Quite basic. Just go and run. Yeah.
Yeah. Just do your kilometers every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you were saying, she's the one, you know, like the one who's running the house financially, right? So it means that because this is something that I also wanted to ask about the husband, because we see him, he's supporting her his way, but I kept on thinking, but what exactly does he do? Like, what is his role here? And then, like,
he is actually he is a preacher, and he's educated as a preacher, and goes sometimes to preach. But I think now he's more. They have invested in. For her money, they have done some investment in like the same houses as they live in. These very small houses, they have invested in some of these, so they are now like the landlords and can rent out these houses. So they bought some property for her money, and I think he's like the manager of that now. So that is what he's doing at the moment. But they are, I mean, like many others, they also struggling quite a lot now because I mean there's no races now, there's no opportunity to go and run, and that's of course very stressful also because I mean she has this age that I mean time is running out at one point where you can compete on the same level as she's able to. So yeah, they are also struggling like a lot of other people during this pandemic.
Yeah. How old is she now? And then, so can you tell us more about this? About after finishing shooting the film, your contact with her, how she's doing. So.
She must be around 30, 31, 32. Around it's sometimes a little bit hard. I experienced that with several people in Africa to get like an exact number for their age because they don't care so much about their age, and it's but she's around in the beginning of her 30s. But I had that very big pleasure that she actually came to Copenhagen after finishing the film. She came to run a half marathon. So I got to invite her home to visit my family and to meet my children and my husband. And that was actually very emotional and that was very nice. It was funny because my husband said when she left, he said it's that he thought it was very touching. We have quite a close bond, and she's very we have a kind of a friendship, and I think for her it's because I mean it was hard for her to get her to open up about her inner life. But on the other hand, I think it's nice for her to be able to talk with somebody from the outside about her inner life, which she might not get to share with so many others, because that's kind of a luxury that they're not used to, to kind of spend time on their inner life. I mean, it has to survive and you just have to accept the terms that life gives you, but then somebody comes, this female from Denmark comes and asks you how do you feel about it, and how do you feel about it? And actually I think she liked that, to be able to talk to somebody about this stuff. So but of course, and then I mean I haven't seen her now for this was I think 1.5 years ago, maybe. Yeah. But I mean, we write sometimes on Facebook, and yeah. And I still hope to be able to one day to visit her with my children.
Mm-hmm. And this that you say that she's quite reserved is something that at some point we see in the film when she's saying that she doesn't dare to cry in public, that she's always doing it alone. So I guess that also brought you some complications when shooting, like trying to see what emotions she was facing. Was it like that?
Yes, exactly, because she smiles all the time, she always have this big smile. So it was, I mean, in that way she was a hard character. I mean, you had to find the of course that's also why I included that part where she says that, to explain that she's, I mean, even though she's smiling, she can be very sad, but it's kind of losing your face. I mean, it's embarrassing to cry in public. It's yeah. Mm. So that is, I mean, compared to, I mean, in our part of the world, I mean, even the biggest football stars, they cry if they lose, the world championship or something. So you couldn't get that visual drama. So it is like, I mean, it is a film where the big drama lies in the details. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And how was the for her to watch the film, to see the final result?
She was happy. She was laughing. She was laughing a lot. But she was very happy with the film, and I think she's been proud and had unfortunately she didn't get she was supposed to be at the premiere in Denmark, but the visa didn't come through in time because it was something with her passport, which was, it's all the time on some embassy because she's getting visa to the countries where she's running from. So she missed the premiere in Denmark, but then she came to a race in Sweden, and I went to her and we watched it together on a link, but she was very happy, about it.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the relationship that also from the social aspect of these customs that they have in Kenya, how she's in charge of the whole family, of her father, her mother, her brothers and sisters. How was your reaction to that? I'm curious about that, and also like how did you manage to process that and to put it in the film?
It was the scene where she's the first time I met her, I was visiting her family her in the rural area. I was with her visiting her family, and then many years after, when we came back, and she's kind of her career was going good and she was making a lot of money, where I could see that and also when she met with her mother, I could see that people all the time wanted money from her. And actually we were talking about when we left that the second time we visited the family, I said to her, so Veselin, now you're the mzungu of your own family, because they call white people mzungus. And when you are white and travel in Kenya and the parts of Africa where I've been traveling, people all the time want some money from you. You represent so much wealth that they all the time, please, can you help me? Can you give me, And now suddenly I saw that she had that role I'm usually playing, in the family where, everybody, please, can you give me something? And I also experienced that there was also some kind of loneliness, and I also tried. You get alienated from your own family in some ways. So maybe you get all these material goods, but you kind of lose some intimacy maybe in the relations to your closest one. And that is actually, that's also very relatable for our part of the world. Also, it's the same if you're spending a lot of time on your career and to make a lot of money, then you don't get to see the ones closest to you, and people, they get maybe a little bit envious because you make a lot of money and people suddenly want something from you. So it was actually her dilemmas was the same as any career woman in the world. That was anyway that association I got, and I also wanted to I could relate to that feeling, even though the settings was completely different. It wasn't so different suddenly, So it was also like some kind of a bittersweet ending that be careful what you wish for, because it might come true, and then comes some new challenges along the way. And on the other hand, she also she could also do a lot of good. As her sister said, if she wasn't in school, she would have been married already. So she could kind of save her sisters and help, many of her siblings to an education. And so it can have a humongous influence on the whole family. The money she makes, if she just runs a few seconds faster, then it can mean like a college education for many of her siblings. So So that is, of course, the good side of it.
Yeah, yeah. And what about her life as a public figure in Kenya? Is that also happening to her?
Yeah, she was in the she was known in that environment, but you know, it is when you go on the market in this city where she lives. When you go in this village, when we went down the street or to the market, it's like, oh, this is the, you know, she stopped and talked to somebody, and then she said, oh, he just won the London Marathon. He just won. I mean, it's the biggest stars in the running world that's just walking around there, because they're centered right there. The whole industry is kind of centered in this village, because it's the highest. It's one of the highest areas in Kenya. Mm-hmm. So it's a very good place for training. So that's, and then that this has become the place where all the foreign agents goes to look for talents. And so if you want to get discovered by a scout from one of the big managing agencies, then this is where you go and do the local runs and also a big thing. A lot of it thanks to the brother Colum, who you also see in the film, who's like a quite a big figure in the he has kind of organized that he have races on all the rural schools, and then those who win, they can win like a scholarship to come to his school, and then they get some sneakers, and he has kind of organized it a lot. In all those, he's spent many years. He's been there for many years in that area. So he has played a big role in that whole development of the running industry there.
And like in this, how do you see it as, you know, as a foreigner, you know, that you go there and there is all this like foreign, let's call it intervention, you know, in order to produce athletes. Do you see like there is a very positive side, of course, all these like and what's happening in the way sports people of very high quality, but do you see also something that is discussable there, or something that, or is it good?
It's, I don't know what it's a good question. I would say it's complicated. It's I saw both. I mean, you could choose to take to see it through that lens, where you see it as an exploitation of these local people, because they make it is an industry and they make big money out of these running talents. But on the other hand, you could also see it as a help, because they also help a lot of people to get to a high-end living standard, and as we just talked about, you know, help their families and help education, and it creates the growth in the whole part of that country. So it's complicated. I couldn't really choose which part, but I sat once with some of with a table with white men, having dinner in one of the training centers there, and they were talking about, they had different, one was there training a triathlon team, and one was a scout from New York Marathon, and they were talking about this Kenyan woman who had just been caught in a doping scandal. Mm-hmm. And they were like shaming her so much, and they were like, I don't know how she can look herself in the mirror. I mean, it's and I got so angry, because I was like, you sit here and you shame her. I mean, if I could benefit from doping in that way, she can. I mean, she can turn, maybe she doesn't have any other choice. I mean, it's her only choice of making a career and making a life for herself and her family. I would take doping. I mean, so I think it's so. I just got really angry because I thought it was so easy for them to sit there and point their fingers with their moral. You know, when I mean, I think I would do it. I mean, if I could benefit in that way, they could. I mean, not that I have done it, but just in my imagination. But yeah, so that's, I mean, so it's yeah, it's a I mean, I can't say if it's good or bad, and I didn't get I didn't witness anything. I didn't come across in the time when I was shooting any stories where it was like, where you could say, okay, this was really bad. But of course, it is like in many other things, it's a little the power balance is a little bit unfair in that relationship. Yeah. But still, I mean, they benefit, but I didn't like to watch the humbleness that Viselin had towards her Italian manager. I mean, but again, that's just my perception.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything that you would like to add to this conversation? I ran out of questions, but I think we had a very nice conversation.
Yeah. No, I think you did it very well. You covered most of it. I think I just hope. I just think people should. It's actually it's the film I made, which is hardest for me to verbalize or to talk about. So I just think people, they should see the film. Go see the film. It's yeah. She's a lovely character, and yeah, it's a nice run. And I mean, I think it's I can express what I wanted to say better with the film that in my verbal language. Yeah.
Okay, then, Katrine, thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to watch your film here in the festival. Let's hope that when you make, with your next film, you can actually come to Budapest in person.
Oh, that would be so lovely. I've really been looking forward to. I thought March, that's realistic, but then such a shame. And thank you for choosing the film for the festival.
No problem. It was a pleasure to have the film, and we know that our audience is going to like it.
Thank you.
Much. Thank you very much, Katrine. Have a very nice day. And to the audience of the Budapest International Documentary Film Festival, I want to remind you that now you can, after the film premiere, you can watch the film for the whole duration of the festival at any time, and the same with this conversation that we just had with Katrine, the director of Run Like a Girl. You can watch it anytime. And thank you very much for being here with us and for being part of this conversation. And goodbye.